What if I told you the most terrifying and highest-grossing werewolf movie ever made wasn't born from fiction, but from a real burial ritual in Eastern Europe? Tonight, we're pulling back the curtain on the origins of An American Werewolf in London. Not just a story of a cursed bite or a full moon, but a film rooted in real folklore, real fear, and even real death rites that inspired its creation. Stay with me, because by the end, you'll see how this movie reshaped werewolf mythology forever, and why the curse didn't end in London. The year was 1969. Director John Landis was just 18 when he witnessed something most of us could barely process: a gypsy burial ritual in Yugoslavia. The body was being buried feet first, wrapped in garlic, with the belief that it might rise from the grave. That night carved itself into his brain. Years later, that single disturbing memory became the seed for An American Werewolf in London. This wasn't some Hollywood fantasy. It was folklore colliding with reality, and the real inspiration behind American Werewolf in London. When the film finally released in 1981, it did more than shock audiences. It made history. It became the top-grossing horror film of the year. Now let's dig into where the werewolf myth really comes from. Because Landis wasn't just making a monster movie. He was reaching back into some of humanity's oldest fears. Some scholars link werewolf legends to rabies outbreaks. A bite, sudden aggression, foaming at the mouth. It all mirrors lycanthropy. Others point to porphyria, a rare genetic disorder that causes skin blistering, disfigurements, and sensitivity to sunlight. But the trail goes back even further. In ancient Greece, the tale of King Lycaon tells of a man punished by Zeus, transformed into a wolf for his crimes. Through the Middle Ages, Europe spread stories of men turning into beasts, sometimes tragic victims of a curse, sometimes servants of the devil himself. And it's not just Europe. Across the world, cultures whisper the same nightmare. People becoming something else, shedding humanity for fur and fangs. In Africa, Asia, the Americas, humans turned into jaguars, tigers, hyenas. It's the universal fear of losing control, of becoming other. So how does An American Werewolf in London twist these ancient stories into something real? The cursed bite. David's infection comes from the attack on the moors. One wound and his fate is sealed. The Slaughtered Lamb pub. The locals' silence hints this curse has haunted their village for generations. They know the beast. They fear it. But they'd rather protect their secret than warn strangers. The full moon. The transformation only happens then, but Landis shows it as agony, not magic. Every second of David's metamorphosis is violent, bone-snapping reality. The undead curse. This was new. Victims don't rest. They wander as rotting spirits, trapped in limbo until the bloodline of the werewolf is destroyed. Jack, David's friend, becomes a decaying guide, a reminder of the cost of ignoring the curse. Ending the curse. The only way to break the cycle is to kill the werewolf, cutting off the bloodline. This is why Jack and the other victims constantly pressure David to take his own life before he kills anyone else. The werewolf's nature. Once transformed, David becomes a mindless predator. He has no memory of his actions the morning after. The beast is pure instinct and violence, severing the human personality completely until morning. a link to older lore. The pentagram symbol on the wall of the slaughtered lamb. Pub references classic werewolf mythology, where the 5-pointed star was a protective ward against werewolves. This hints that the locals had been fighting this curse long before David arrived. These rules feel ancient, yet fresh. They honor the folklore, but make it even more brutal. Here's where the story gets even darker. What happens when the curse doesn't stop with David? When David dies at the end of the film, we assume the nightmare is over. But hidden in the shadows is Alex Price, the nurse who fell in love with him. After his death, she discovers she's pregnant. Their daughter's name is Seraphine, and with her, the curse is reborn in American Werewolf in Paris. An American Werewolf in Paris tells Seraphine's story. She grows up in Paris, raised by a doctor, Thierry Pigot, her stepfather. Unlike David, Seraphine didn't need to be bitten. She was born with lycanthropy, carrying the bloodline in her veins from day one. This changes everything. Seraphine struggles with transformations, just like her father, but it's her heritage, not an infection. Her stepfather tries to cure her. Instead, his experiments twist the curse further, leading to Alex's death and Thierry himself becoming infected. The sequel introduces a serum that allows werewolves to transform instantly, even without the full moon. Claude, the villain, uses it to create an army of monsters that no longer follow the old rules. Fans debate whether this makes sense, but it does explain why the rules changed. Seraphine's mixed heritage meant lycanthropy wasn't bound by the same limitations. So let's piece it together. It begins in 1969 with a cursed gypsy burial, the roots of a legend buried deep in folklore. By 1981, that curse finds David Kessler on the misty moors of Yorkshire, transforming a backpacking trip into one of cinema's most terrifying nightmares. His story isn't just about one man becoming a monster, it's about how the curse itself survives, shifting and mutating with every generation. Then, in 1997, the story takes a darker twist. Through Seraphine, the daughter of David and Alex, the bloodline doesn't just carry the trauma, it carries the beast. She represents the chilling truth that lycanthropy in this universe isn't random. It's hereditary, passed on like a disease, or worse, like an inheritance no one can escape. And that's what makes this story so haunting. The rules of the curse bend. Sometimes it spreads by bite, sometimes by bloodline, sometimes both. But one truth never changes. Once the beast is inside you, there's no controlling it. You can fight it, you can try to cage it. But in the end, there's only one way to end it. An American Werewolf in London isn't just a film. It's a window into an ancient fear that humanity has carried for centuries. The folklore of men turning into beasts under the moonlight, stitched together with groundbreaking practical effects that still hold up today. And through Seraphine, we see the curse doesn't end with David's story. It evolves, it spreads, it survives. Because the terror of the werewolf is not about death, it's about continuation. The beast never dies. It only waits for the next victim.